This is the Tigers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Detroit Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Woof, a forgettable night at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, and we're here to talk about it. Welcome into a Locked On Tigers POSTCAST. I am your host, Jake Rietma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma, and this is the Locked On Tigers POSTCAST, your instant reaction show, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and of course, on YouTube. Thanks as always for dialing it up, even after a disappointing result like we had tonight. 10-1, the final in this one. It's a lot closer than that until the Orioles went for 7 runs in that home half of the 8th inning. But we'll talk about the bullpen getting a little bit shelled and some missed opportunities for the Tigers throughout this one. And unfortunate news today, Jackson Jobe, Tommy John surgery. If you hadn't heard that by now, well, you've probably been living under a rock, but hey, I'll repeat it once again. Jackson Jobe to undergo Tommy John surgery. So just a bummer of a night, but you know what? We'll put on our brave face and we'll make it happen. As always, it's a collaborative environment. So go ahead and fire up that comment box. Let me know your thoughts and what you liked. And there wasn't much to like tonight. So what you didn't like is probably more appropriate. But we begin where we always do. It's the biggest takeaway, what we're all going to be discussing, our number one talking point.
This is what you'll be talking about.
My hope is that this talking point won't last but less than 24 hours, and that Tarik Skubal and the Tigers will take the rubber match tomorrow. But the bullpen giving up 9 runs, and Casey Mize wasn't great tonight. He wasn't exceptional. He wasn't awful by any means, but at the end of the day, 5 1/3 and 2 earned runs gives your team an opportunity to win the ball game. And this game changed drastically when the Tigers settled for just the 1 run in the 7th inning, when it looked like, I thought off the bat, that Colt Keith long drive to right was going to be a 3-run homer. Instead, just an RBI double to make it 2-1. Dylan Dingler unable to get the 2nd run home to tie it, and then the floodgates open. So unfortunate that it played out that way. But make no mistake about it, if this Tigers team is going to reach the goals and aspirations that we all have for them, that they have for them, you can't have a bullpen performance like we had tonight in giving up 9 runs over the course of the final 4 2/3, or 3 2/3, even less than that. So that's my biggest thought on tonight. Let me know what you think as well in the comments. Let's get to the comments straight away, because I know there's a lot of people wanting to dive on in. We also had Tarik Skubal on the hit podcast, the number 1 sports podcast in the world, I believe. I got to double check that, but pardon my take. And I thought he had some interesting comments. They have such a unique interview style. And I know I'm like, my ADHD is kicking in. I'm going all over the place, but they talked about the long-term contract and the looming nature of it all. And if you would take 10 years and 410 million, whatever it was. And I definitely, from that interview, gathered that Tarik Skubal wants to stay in Detroit. There's no doubt about it. But again, I've got major ADHD going on right now, and I do apologize for that. Your comments. Jason Walters up first. I went to the Whitecaps game since they were playing Lansing. Quick thoughts. McConnelly, fast, good eye coordination. Clark, good eye for waiting for the end of the first half to go and go to Erie. Great catch. Yeah, I mean, I was talking about that with my brother just the other day, just the talent in West Michigan right now with Max Clark and so on and so forth, the ability to build up that farm system. And Scott Harris was on 97.1 The Ticket today talking about exactly that. And of course, he was asked if he'll be making some moves at the deadline. I hope so. He alluded to the fact that nobody is necessarily off limits, and I totally get that. And I hope he's truthful in that declaration. I believe he is. And I mean, you guys know me, I'm all in on this team, and I understand the importance of needing to sustain this system and sustain this standard moving forward, and not mortgaging your future for a short-term game. Totally aware of that concept. And I believe the Tigers and Scott Harris, to his credit, which, by the way, let me give even more credit to Scott Harris, because I did not love the way his initial tenure in Detroit began. I thought it was very small market minded, but look what he's done. The proof is in the pudding. The Tigers are the best team in baseball. So that being said, yes, it'll be interesting to see what transpires at the deadline and what happens with Max Clark as well. DT Lions, it's absolutely pathetic that our offense seems to just give up when we get scored on first. I don't have the stats to back that up. The number of comeback wins that this Tigers team has, that was, of course, a calling card that the Tigers had in last season's run, that they were never out of it. They were the gritty Tigers. I think you've seen that at times from this team, but tonight it did feel like a lackluster effort from the offense. I will certainly meet you there and pinpoint tonight's game as one where it felt like the at-bats were and baseball's a strange game like that, so I'm not calling out any effort by any means, but the threat of a big inning just never felt like it was there, other than, again, what I mentioned in the seventh inning. But settling for just the one run there was a bummer, because that Colt Keith hit, missed a 3-run homer by a couple of feet, and then to settle for just the one run there, disappointing all the way. Gray Matter, most positive take possible. At least it's not the postseason today. Just one ugly loss. Shake it off. Get them tomorrow. I love that from Gray Matter. There you go. Some positivity in the comment section from Gray Matter, an unlikely source. We gotta love that. All right, Jimmy Card Collector says Meadows has been a disaster at the dish. Yes, that has quietly been I don't want to say a constant, but certainly a development since he's joined the big league club. And there were times last year where he really struggled, but it seemed to pan out in the end with some of the most memorable at-bats. And, I always go back to the one grand slam in San Diego. What a huge win that was. In fact, I believe, Jeff Greenberg is speaking right now on the Tigers post-game show, talking about the Jackson Jobe news, I'm sure. Don't have my closed captioning on in the background as I conduct the live Locked On Tigers postcast. That's why we do it live, folks. That's why we do it live. All right, a couple more comments to get to. Demetrius McNeil. First of all, Jackson Jobe out for the season, son of a Tommy John surgery, and then watching the Tigers get smoked by the Orioles. Still the best team in baseball at the end of the day. Yeah, tough day today. When a couple of gut punches, and there you go. Braylon Dennis, everything that could go right for Baltimore went absolutely right. Oh, man. We've got some other Donald from Detroit. It's not unheard of that the Tigers take the first game in a series and then drop the second. Very true. That's another part of all of this. Says, hey, give the ball to Tarik Skubal tomorrow and watch him go win a series for you. And, of course, the offense has to show up, and that's a big part of it as well. And just the thought of maybe, I'm not making excuses. I don't want it to come across that way. If you watch this program enough, I'm the furthest thing from an excuse maker, and I'm usually overly critical of the players. But the weight of the Jackson Jobe, Tommy John news is part of it. And it's also an 162 game season. There's going to be games where you don't have your A game. And Baltimore is Baltimore is a team that I thought had a legitimate chance to win the AL East this season. Now, obviously, they've underachieved, and a buddy of mine and I were talking about exactly that today. Is their season over yet? Are they going to sell at the deadline? Because they certainly have some pieces and have been disappointing, but I don't think they're quite out of it yet. They've been playing a lot better as of late. I believe with the win today, they've won 11 of their last 16, something around that nature, as far as playing better baseball. All right. Good point here from Thomas Rotondi. Parker Meadows is brutal at the plate right now, and option Bo Brisky. That might be a conversation we start to have And Brisky's one of those guys that was an upper echelon bullpen member last year, but his level of play has taken him down to an average bullpen member at best. And that goes back to the, not sound like a broken record, but the constant discussion we have on this program of the bullpen lacking the depth that it had last year, and lacking, aside from the top heavy nature of this bullpen with Will Vest and Tommy Kahnle, nobody else to really step into a role, even as a middle reliever or even as a high leverage reliever. You know, like, who are you feeling confident about handing the ball to in a bullpen situation in an important moment right now? Will Vest and Tommy Kahnle. I mean, that's about it. Maybe Tyler Holton, just based on what we know he's capable of, but you haven't seen it. You haven't seen it as of late. All right. Kellen Morrison with an interesting point here. We can go 500 the rest of the season, still get 100 wins, and Scott Harrison is ready to buy. Yeah, I don't want to rest on our laurels of, hey, we're the best team in baseball. We're 20 games over 500. Let's just take the foot off the gas. And I don't think you're insinuating that with the comment, but I just wanted to get out in front of that. I do think this team has, and even going back to that interview with Tarik Skubal, he talked about how much this team just has such a will and a desire to win, and they hate losing. And that's the kind of makeup that you want. The culture, I know culture is talked about in a lot of different ways as it relates to professional sports. And baseball is a little bit more unique than some of your other professional sports, but because you play every single day. But this is a team that is not going to take losing lightly, and I'm excited to see what they have in store for tomorrow. Mark with a good point here. Herder's been good too. Yeah, I got to give Herder some credit. You're absolutely right about that, and my apologies for missing that one. All right, let's take a quick break. Keep the lights on here and tie a bow on it with more on the Locked On Tigers postcast. We'll have our turning point and player of the game next on a live Locked On Tigers postcast. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Tigers postcast is brought to you by Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you the full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. Nope. It's much more than that. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building the wealth. I love the all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch Money to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. That goes back to the goal. Stop managing your money, start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's code LOCKEDONMLB. LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. Monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year when you use that code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Today's episode of the Locked On Tigers postcast is also brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site that's made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website, well, guess what? It's packed with helpful resources and the latest product information to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, guess what? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM, supplyhouse.com/TM, and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Use promo code SH5, that's SH5, for 5% off your first order. SH5 for 5% off your first order at supplyhouse.com. We're cruising right along on a live Locked On Tigers postcast after a disappointing 10-1 loss to the Baltimore Orioles. Rubber match tomorrow. Now, you might think getaway day game, not so fast, my friends. It's a night game tomorrow, which I found interesting. We'll put it that way. So 6:35 start. I do like how Baltimore starts it right at the 6:30 time frame. I don't know if anybody else likes that or not, but I'm a big early start kind of guy. It's just my 2 cents worth less than that. All right, it's time for our turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Pretty easy on this one. The 7th inning where the Tigers settle for just the 1 run, stretch that into the bottom of the 8th inning where the Orioles go for 100 runs and win this game 10-1. The 7th spot in the bottom of the 8th inning blew this game wide open. But really, if we're pinpointing a turning point, it's that 7th inning because the Tigers settle for just the 1 run. Baltimore comes back and scores a run of their own to negate that 1 run for the Tigers, and it's still a 2-run lead, 3-1 heading to the 8th inning. Tigers shut down, Orioles go crazy, and voila, you've got a 10-1 final. First loss of the season for Casey Mize, which is, I wouldn't say hard to believe because he's been really, really good, but I was a little bit, I kind of did a double take. Oh yeah, he has only lost 1 game so far this season. 5 1/3 for Casey Mize, 8 hits. He got out of some jams, which I give him credit for. The 2-run homer in the bottom of the 3rd that he surrendered. Bottom of the 3rd, I mean, it was 2 pitches and 2 runs. Mullins had the double, and then Urias had the home run there to left. And for Casey Mize, though, there was the jam he got out of a couple of different times that showed some good resiliency and pitching under high pressure situations. But Tigers will try to bounce back tomorrow in the rubber match. All right, our player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Is it totally lame to just take the Baltimore Orioles offense? I mean, every single hitter 1 through 9 had a hit tonight. I'm looking at this box score, and 7 of 9 starters had multi-hit games. So this offense, wow, 16 hits. I think a lot of people, me included, thought this is who the Baltimore Orioles were as a team. I mean, they've underachieved out of the gates, and the slow start and firing the manager and everything. But maybe, I mean, it's a long season. It is a sprint. No, it's a marathon, not a sprint. As soon as I said that, I knew that was wrong. But anyways, time for a couple more comments here. Make sure I nail them all down here. Mo says, yeah, Herder really been showing out, man. Kelly Morrison says we need some bullpen help and we need to trade Matt Vierling for a third baseman and a right-handed hitter. Interesting. I've not heard that one yet. I've heard Matt Vierling is revealed by this organization. I don't think he gets moved. That's just my 2 cents worth less than that. And that's based on listening to Scott Harris and AJ Hinch. They revere Matt Vierling. That being said, disappointing night, bounce back tomorrow. I mentioned I am doing some traveling in the next couple of days, looking at wedding venues. So plan on watching tomorrow. I don't know exactly what time one wedding venue tour ends to be able to get to a good spot. I'll be on the West Coast, so time zone's a little bit different. Things are in motion. I'm going to do my absolute best tomorrow, and then we will go from there. But if you don't see a postcast, do not panic, and I got to be better about communicating that to our most devoted fans, which I appreciate. But you've always got Locked On Tigers with Scott Bentley, the Daily Show. But again, I'm going to do my best to be able to put together a post-game show for everybody on Locked On Tigers. But hey, that's the type of effort you're going to get on the Locked On Tigers postcast. That's why you like and subscribed. I checked the numbers yesterday. We're north of 6,800 subscribers. How about that? So tell a friend to go ahead and like and subscribe. Locked On Tigers, pumping out daily free content, both the daily show and the postcast show. All right. Yes. Gary Myers, Tarik Skubal tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Talk to you next time. Tigers fall 10-1. They go for the series win in the rubber match. Tarik Skubal on the bump tomorrow. Orioles Park at Camden Yards. Book it. Have a wonderful night.